Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm just starting to work an altar to the Morrigan. I just purchased that deck, like I imagine several people did, the Call of the Morrigan. Got this nice cloth with the raven there, or crow. And I've been hunting through my shelves for information that I can, access and bring knowledgeably to the altar. And I did find someone mentioning mugwort. I have a feeling I want to use hyssop. And I'm just going to try to pull it all together and show you some of the decks I found on the shelf with lots of information to share. So actually I found a whole selection of decks, nature-based, some animal-based, plant-based, and all by one particular artist, Will Worthington. Now, the first one I got down off the shelf was this one, the Druid Plant Oracle. You can see there the beautiful illustrations. And that gives you a hint of what's inside. And you can see at the top that Philip and Stephanie Cargom put this together. Now, I went to this one because I knew it had an informative book. They're not color illustrations in here, but I was looking for information on mugwort in particular because it was mentioned. And it is in here. And I found the card to it. Isn't this artwork superb? So with the mugwort, we're going to come back to this, but I thought I'd show you some of the cards also, because they are just so darn nice. I wanted to do almost a dedication to Will Worthington because his artwork is so clean, so exact and colorful, but yet it just allows that sort of fantasy walk through nature that could really comfort a lot of us right now. But because, as I say, I was looking for special herbs, this deck called to me. And then all the others that were grouped around it said, look at me too. So that's what I'm going to be doing and showing you why. So the back of these cards, not fabulous, and they are really large. But, if you want to put them on the altar, and even use them for meditation or research and really understand the makings of the plant, this deck and book does that for us. So if we go and bring forward here the card for mugwort, I'm going to read a little bit from the book in that it says it's great for prophecy, clairvoyance, and protection. And I've made some notes in the book from things that I've studied, and one of the common names for it is all heal. It's a great herb that can be found on a riverbank, Midsummer's Eve, the time when tradition dictates that its leaves should be gathered. A full moon can be seen between the summer clouds, and the moonlight on the surface of the water is there to remind us that mugwort is reputed to aid in the ancient art of scrying. So, I do have some mugwort. You saw that on my altar, and I'll have to do some further research. But this, if you didn't have the herb, you could certainly use this card and enjoy all the artwork that he has to offer. So let's go on to the next one. Now, I believe from what I've read too, you can use the wolf. That is like a totem, I guess, for her. And this wolf comes from the Wildwood Tarot. So this is the book. Again, lots of images and information, not in color, but there you go. And I also found, I'm going to go back to that, but there's the box you can see. Now, this is with Mark Ryan and John Matthews, but still Will Worthington's work, with a little hint there on the back. And I'm just going to pause and find the information on the wolf. Okay, now with this one, our gorgeous wolf, in this deck, the Wildwood, which is a tarot deck, he is the King of Stones. And it does say its position on the wheel is departing from Samhain. Now, he's a ruthless tracker and hunter. The wolf has had a special symbolism for thousands of years and was the subject of ancient Pictish stone carvings. He's most comfortable in dark and cold of winter and is seen as the guardian of the dead on their journey through the night to the other world. So it's good for tracking pathways and observation. So I think this is another card and the information in the book to guide me on using the wolf, the image, as part of my altar. Now I'm going to show you also, it's a chunky deck that comes with this one. And these, get it in focus, hello, are the cards. So there's our wonderful Fool. In this one it's called the Wanderer. The Shaman. I love this one, the Seer. The Green Woman and the Green Man. Now these were cut down by myself or another person. I did have a friend who we traded decks with. And this is the one you see on the box. And it's the glorious colors coming through again. The energy and that pagan world that we can all get into. But look at that hooded man for the Hermit. So I'll be using this deck to access information around the wolf. Okay, the next one is the Druid Craft Tarot. Big chunky book again, filled with gorgeous information, and I have certainly used it and made my notes. Comes in a wonderful box, and this is Philip and Stephanie Cargom with Will Worthington again. And I did get this one at a thrift store, so I was able to cut mine down a little bit because they are huge. Now, in this one, I'm going to be accessing, excuse me, their information on the crone on the death card. So here we have, from the Druid Craft Tarot, the death card. And she is the crone, the dark woman of knowledge, and the keeper of the cauldron. So when you look at her, we're supposed to take note of the fact that she is sometimes referred to as a lunar goddess. Samhain is very important. And in the background there is something called a dolmen. And it is beside a river, and it's a place of burial, but also of initiation and rebirth. The dawn in the sky, I guess he's hinting here that that should be like the beginning again, a fresh start. And it says here, the river has always been associated with the goddess, and with both life and death. After death, we cross the river to the other world so that we can be reborn again. So this is also a card that's going to be significant, I think, to the study of the Morrigan for me, that transformation, that change. And let's go on. I did find a little bit more information here around this card, which is kind of nice. And it does say that, you know, there is significance to this stage that we go through, this transformative death, in that we might fear it, But we need to know and accept that change is needed, that transformation, that rebirth, that physical death is only one of the manifestations, and that it sweeps us along and allows us to rid which is no longer necessary. Superb. And I better show you a few more cards from that deck. Another chunky one. Even though it's been cut down, it's still big, but more manageable this way. It gives you a chance to sort of step into the landscape and, dream. Let it talk to you. This one is especially nice. And the stories that go along with it, the tales, the folklore, it all makes it that much better. Isn't that a great Seven of Swords? So I haven't done full walkthroughs of these decks yet, but if anybody wants to see one of the decks, just let me know. Okay? The next deck I'm going to be showing is the Druid Animal Oracle. And that's going to help me out with some images for the altar. And this again is Philip and Stephanie Cargon with, of course, sometimes it's Will, sometimes it's Bill Worthington. And this is a really nice animal deck. It's not as wonderful for me visually as the other ones, but, I found this in it, the raven. And I know that sometimes it's crows, sometimes it's ravens, but in this deck, this is what was available. There's the backs again. I'll show you a few of the cards, and then we'll get on to information about the raven. Yeah, this deck doesn't seem to have the same rich tones that I love, but at least it gives detailed information on all of the animals. This reminds me of the Lenormand cards with the fox. And I think the aces in here had the dragons. And that does appear on the cloth that came with the deck. So there is a serpent in that corner, but I believe when I open it up, you get dragons in the other corners. So that is that one. But let's just take a moment and I'll grab the raven card again and see what it says. Okay, so I know some people are going to want to just have crows, but if you're stuck, there is a raven in this deck, and it is great for healing, initiation, and protection, it indicates. It does say that, hang on a second here. There it is. I like the fact that it said the raven as a bird of healing, but the ability for it to travel from this world to the next symbolizes the power of healing, but the type of healing that comes about through a radical confrontation. And that is what I've been hearing over and over when I watch some of the videos on using the call of the Morrigan or setting up an altar to Morrigan, that there is that sort of confrontation that we have to go through. And it really pulls on the unconscious, the hidden, the shadows, the darker aspects. And the raven's association with death becomes an association with depth. And thus, it says, with depth, psychology, and the transformative powers of also initiation. For this moment would mark a greater or lesser extent the death of the old self and the rebirth of the new self. So it's very therapeutic. And in the book, you can see there are many pages for information about working with the raven. Isn't that fabulous? How many? It's just chock full of information. Okay, let's go on. Now, the last deck I'm going to show with Will's work, this is the Camelot Oracle. And I did do a walkthrough on my channel of this, and I pulled this one out because it has in it Morgana. Now, from what I'm reading, they are two separate identities, but it does have some of the similar qualities. I'll read you what it says. But first, let's look at the backs. Nothing to brag about there. But these are gorgeous as well. And it really takes you into the old tales. And there's our beautiful Lady of the Lake. And you learn about each of the people and how it relates to the folk tales. But I'm going to be using this as my gateway to learning about Morgana. So let's see what she says. Now this one says she's also known as Morgan Le Fay and half-sister to Arthur. But what I was getting from the book was the fact the same similar energy to the Morrigan, that she's very fierce. She's a warrior in battle, and normally is seen with the scavenging crow. Her strengths are physical. She has wisdom. She has knowledge. And she has studied and worked with much of the books and the lore. She's the goddess and guardian of the land. So she takes us intuitively between all the levels of existence. She's a great one to choose as a champion. It just is so strong, and they refer to her as Morgana, Queen of Avalon. And that, you might find her there, and when you journey with the Camelot cards, if she should approach you and offer you a drink from the cauldron, be very careful, because if you accept this, it can change your life forever. And some of the most important journeys and people that we meet and life's instances that change us forever are very important. So I have to do a little bit more research around the differences between Morgana and the Morrigan and see if I can find my way. But for now, I'm going to leave that there and just assemble some of the cards that I've gathered. So there you go. They can look quite striking on an altar. And if it helps you and the information in the books help you, can't speak, then it's wonderful. Use the decks that you have, the books that you have as a starting point and build your information around the Morrigan so that, you become attuned to her, and what works for you at the beginning might even change down the road. But at least it's a starting point. We all have to start somewhere. And this is my start to the journey of working with the Morrigan. Blessings.